Folks, I want you to hear me clearly on this one. Because what happened over the last 48 hours with the United States men's national team is one of the most extraordinary, most dramatic, most downright American stories I have seen unfold in a long, long time. And I have been around long enough to have seen quite a few things unfold. We are hosting the World Cup on American soil, 250 years into this grand experiment, and we have the whole world watching us right here in our house. And the American team's best striker, a young man named Folarin Balogun, a guy who could be the difference between going home and going to the quarterfinals for the first time since 2002, gets slapped with a red card suspension. Gone. Can't play. Belgium's waiting. Games Monday night in Seattle. And then, Donald Trump makes a phone call. I'm Rick LeBow. This is Rush Hour, and we are just getting started. My friends, let me set the table here, because I want you to understand the full picture of what we are dealing with. The 2026 World Cup is being hosted here in the United States of America, joint host with Canada and Mexico. But let's be honest, everybody knows whose party this really is. Sold-out stadiums coast to coast, the whole world tuned in, and the home team, our team, is right there in the mix, fighting for a spot in the quarterfinals. They haven't gotten that far since 2002, folks. That is 24 years of heartbreak, 24 years of close but no cigar. Folarin Balogun is the guy. He is the striker, the scorer, the player opposing defenses lose sleep over. Born in New York, played overseas in Europe for years, came back to represent the Stars and Stripes. Kid is electric. And in the previous match, he gets a red card. A card that, let me tell you, a lot of people watching the game felt was dubious at best. Borderline phantom foul territory. The kind of call that makes you throw something at your television. Under normal circumstances, a red card means 1 game suspension. Automatic. He misses Belgium. The U.S. plays the biggest match in a generation without its best weapon. Now, here's where the drive-by media is going to try to make this complicated. Here's where our friends in the press are going to clutch their pearls and fan themselves and say, oh my goodness, the integrity of the process. President Trump, and reports are circulating on this, let me be clear, these are reports, apparently reached out to FIFA and asked them to take a second look at that red card. And FIFA took a second look. And FIFA said, you know what? On review, that suspension is rescinded. Balogun plays Monday night. Now, the Europeans are beside themselves. Belgium's Soccer Federation says they are astonished, which I find hilarious, because I've never heard of a team being astonished that the guy who can hurt them the most is going to be on the field. That's not astonishment, folks. That is complaint dressed up in a fancy suit. The Belgians have been playing soccer since before any of us were born, and they are going to stand there with a straight face and tell me that they're shocked that a decision was reviewed and reversed? Let me ask you something. Do you think for 1 second that if it were a Belgian striker who'd gotten a questionable red card and the Belgian government had put in a word, the European soccer establishment would have a single solitary problem with that? Not one. Not a peep. Because when they do it, it's just how things work. When America does it, it's a scandal. This is the thing about the Europeans that has never, ever changed, and I do not expect it to change in my lifetime. They have spent decades acting as if the United States is some loud, obnoxious newcomer who doesn't understand the rules of polite civilization, while they, the enlightened people of the old world, are the guardians of propriety and fair play. Meanwhile, they've got countries over there that have been rigging their own domestic leagues for years. Italian soccer, need I say more? I rest my case. And the evidence, folks, because I have this story right here in my formerly nicotine-stained fingers, and you can read it yourself. The evidence actually supports the reversal. The red card was reviewed. There were grounds for the review. This wasn't a backroom deal. This was a request that something questionable be looked at again, and the answer came back, yeah, you're right, it was questionable. But here is the part that the media is going to bury because it doesn't fit the narrative. The narrative they want is Trump abuses his power, corrupts international sport, America gets special treatment. That's the story they're writing in their heads right now. Some of them have already filed it. The story they're not writing? That a president of the United States went to bat for his country's team, that he saw something that looked wrong and he said something about it. Now, when has that happened? When has a president, any president, shown that kind of unvarnished, unashamed, this is my team, American pride? Barry Obama would have given a 45-minute speech about the complexity of international sporting governance and his personal journey as a fan of the beautiful game. Trump picks up the phone. That is the difference. And I will tell you something else. The timing here matters enormously. We just passed the 4th of July, our 250th birthday, folks, a quarter of a millennium. And right now, in this very moment, the eyes of the entire world are on American stadiums. The entire world is watching us. And the United States men's national team is right there, right on the edge of something historic. You want to tell me the President of the United States shouldn't have an interest in that outcome? You want to tell me it's somehow improper for him to say, hey, let's make sure this call was right. I'd say that's exactly what a president should do. Let every other country's leader advocate for their team, and ours should sit on his hands because the media might write mean things about him? I don't think so. Now, Belgium, and let me say this, I have nothing against Belgium as a country. Fine people, excellent waffles. But as a soccer federation, they have some nerve. The team that has the most to gain from Balogun not playing is the team most upset that he is playing. You could write that sentence and sell it as a children's book about sour grapes. Monday night, Seattle, the U.S. versus Belgium. Quarterfinals on the line, and Folarin Balogun will be on that field. My friends, I'm going to be watching, and I suspect you will be too. Don't doubt me when I say this. The U.S. wins this one. Don't doubt me. All right, folks, let's run through a few other things going on out there in this wonderful nation of ours. First up, Michigan. The Democratic Senate primary just got a whole lot more interesting. And by interesting, I mean more clarifying for those of us who like to watch the left eat itself. State Senator Mallory McMorrow, the one who made herself briefly famous a few years back, giving that emotional floor speech that made the media swoon, has suspended her Senate campaign. Just dropped out, weeks before the August primary. Now, you'd think this is simple, but it's not, because of who's left in the race. On one side, you have Haley Stevens, the establishment pick, the moderate by Democrat standards candidate. On the other side, you have a gentleman named Abdul El-Sayed. And I want to be precise here because precision matters. Abdul El-Sayed is not just a progressive. He is the candidate of the hard left, the socialist wing, the let's transform everything wing. McMorrow's voters are now up for grabs, and the question is, do they consolidate around Stevens, or do they peel off toward El-Sayed? And this matters, folks, because we are watching something in real time that Pennsylvania's governor, a man who clearly has bigger ambitions, came out and called a battle over what we believe in. Well said, Governor. It is a battle over what you believe in. The trouble is you've got one side of that battle that believes in socialism, and the American people, God bless them, have this persistent and admirable habit of not actually voting for socialism when you call it what it is. The trick, as we have seen time and again, is getting them to vote for it before they realize that's what it is. The Democrats have a structural problem right now that is fascinating to observe. The socialist wing is winning primaries, winning them from New York to Colorado. The establishment is losing races they haven't lost in decades. And now in Michigan, a state that is an absolute must-win for Democrats in general elections, they might end up nominating someone the median Michigan voter takes one look at and says, "No thank you." I am almost rooting for El Sayed to get the nomination just for the entertainment value. I'll be honest with you. I'm a humble, lovable little fuzzball. I wouldn't do that. Moving on. The reflecting pool at the Lincoln Memorial. Now this story has a couple of layers, and I want to get to both of them. The good news: somebody deployed nanobubbler technology. And don't ask me exactly how it works, because I am a man of the spoken word, not a water scientist. But whatever they did, it killed the algae that had turned the reflecting pool into something resembling pea soup. And now it is, according to the president himself, crystal clear. That is wonderful. It's a beautiful national landmark, and it should look beautiful. Good. The bad news: the Interior Secretary came out and confirmed that vandals put 350 feet of gashes, multiple gashes, in the industrial liner of that pool. 350 feet. That is not somebody who tripped and fell. That is deliberate. That is coordinated destruction of a national monument. The president called for the suspects to be arrested. I'll go further. I'll say this: whoever did that, whoever thought that the appropriate way to express their political grievances was to physically destroy one of the most iconic and beloved public spaces in the capital of the United States, that person or those people should face the full weight of what the law allows. Every single inch of it. Because there's a pattern here, and it's been going on for years. Public monuments, national landmarks, public spaces, they become targets, and the people who do it get treated like they made a bold political statement. No, you defaced something that belongs to all of us. You don't get a sympathetic write-up in the paper. You get a pair of handcuffs and a court date. And finally, my friends, Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton took to the stage at a 4th of July event in Philadelphia to warn about threats to democracy and institutions. Now, I want to be very careful here. I want to be measured. I want to be fair. Bill Clinton, the man who got impeached, the man who looked directly into a camera and said, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman." That Bill Clinton is going to stand in front of American citizens on the 4th of July, on the 250th birthday of this republic, and lecture us about threats to institutions? Folks, sometimes the absurdity just does the work for you. Sometimes you don't need a punchline. You just need to read the headline. Now, I have tremendous affection for the democratic process. I do. I believe in it with every fiber. But there is something deeply, profoundly, almost cosmically ironic about the parade of people who have spent the last decade claiming to be the last defenders of sacred democratic norms. And the lineup includes people who themselves have done more damage to public trust in institutions than almost anyone alive. Bill Clinton, the man who turned the Oval Office into a personal scandal factory and then dared the public to do something about it. And yet there he was, on our birthday, swinging at Trump. You know what? Let me just observe this. The American people saw Bill Clinton's record. They lived through it. They remember. And I suspect that when they heard him on the 4th of July warning about threats to democracy, most of them nodded slowly, thought about that for a second, and then went back to their hot dogs and their fireworks like the sensible people they are. My friends, we have covered a lot of ground today on this program. We've got Balogun going to battle Monday night for the red, white, and blue. We've got the Michigan Democrats in a circular firing squad trying to figure out if they're the party of Haley Stevens or the party of full-bore socialism. And I will tell you, the answer to that question is going to tell us a lot about 2026 and beyond. We've got national monuments being vandalized and then restored, which is itself a kind of metaphor for everything, if you think about it. And we've got Bill Clinton giving democracy lectures in the city of brotherly love, which is, well, I'll leave that one to the Almighty. Here is what I want to leave you with today. 250 years ago, a group of men put their names on a piece of paper and told the most powerful empire on earth to go take a hike. They were told it was crazy. They were told it would never work. They were told that ordinary people couldn't govern themselves, that they needed wise elites in distant capitals to manage their affairs and tell them what was good for them. Sound familiar? Those men, and the generations that followed them, proved every last doubter wrong. And the proof is that we are still here, still arguing, still competing, still watching our soccer team and hoping they can knock off Belgium on a Monday night in Seattle. Still free enough to have this conversation right here on the golden EIP microphone. That's not nothing. That's everything. America, I love you. Keep your chin up. Stay in the fight. I'm Rick LeBeau. This has been Rush Hour. Same time tomorrow, if they let us back on.